Greetings, dear viewers. We are so happy to welcome you again on Allatra TV. My name is Alexei, and my co-hosts today are Anastasia, Jason, and Marek. And today we are honored to have with us Dr. Sam Osmanagich. Dr. Osmanagich is a scientist. He studies megalithic and pyramidal structures. He is an expert and holds a Ph.D. on Mayan pyramids. He has discovered the Bosnian Valley of Pyramids and initiated the archaeological project, which became the most active archaeological project of the world, which attracts hundreds of volunteers every year and scientists who use the most advanced technologies to study the pyramid complex in Bosnia. Dr. Osmanagich is an internationally recognized author. He wrote 18 books translated in several languages. And today, we will talk with him about ancient pyramids and recent discoveries in this area.
Dr. Osmanagich, welcome to our show. We are so honored that you're joining us.
Thank you very much. I'm very happy to be with you tonight.
So, today we would like to start with the introductory question and to ask what brought you to this area of research and how you get interested in Asian civilization. You start your books with a phrase, almost everything they teach us about ancient history is wrong. And we initiated the project Kaleidoscope of Facts. And every time when we prepare, we program and we see what official history says, we understand that it does not describe the history of humanity. So what inspires you and what motivates you to do your research and share knowledge?
As a young man, as a teenager, I used to read a lot. Few decades back, there were different times. If you wanted to learn about the subject without the internet, you had to read. I would read 100 books every year on different subjects. However, the history was something that really was catching my attention. The more I read, the more I realize that what they tell us about the ancient history is wrong. So once I started to travel heavily on all 6 continents, I was able to witness that the official story about those sites is completely wrong. So to add to that statement that almost everything they teach us about the ancient history is wrong, I have to say the origin of man, civilizations, and pyramids is really wrong. So a few decades back, I started writing a lot of books on the subject, and the pyramids appear to be the key structures everywhere from Northern, Central, South America, Africa, Asia, even Australia and Europe. And my PhD was about the Mayan pyramids that were built in the countries that we know today as Mexico, Guatemala, Honduras, El Salvador, and Belize, 95% of them being in the jungles, not visible to our naked human eyes.
Thank you, Doctor, for sharing that with us. I'm lucky enough to have the next question for you. due to the geographical distribution of the pyramids, could you say that or determine the chronology of their construction? And could you please tell us more about that?
The mainstream science tries to convince us that pyramids were built from 4,500 years back in Egypt on, but it's completely wrong. Let's start with the 250 Chinese pyramids in the central province of Shanxi. 20 biggest, largest, most superior pyramids are the oldest, over 12,500 years old. Those that came later, 230 of them, were built from the inferior material, from the mud bricks. From 2,300 years back and Emperor Qin until 1,000 before present. Western Java, our friend Dr. Danny Hillman discovered the pyramid known as Gunung Padang, and he dated it to 24,000 years before present. Kokhker Pyramid in northeastern Cambodia, officially some pseudo-scientific sites like Wikipedia or Encyclopedia Britannica claims that it was built in the 10th century. It was built much, much before. Pyramids on island of Mauritius, 7 of them. 224 Nubian pyramids in northern Sudan. 155 pyramids on Egyptian soil. The Egyptologists are telling us that the oldest pyramid is the step pyramid in Saqqara, 4,600 years old, built by the pharaoh Djoser, without a single proof. It's older than 12,000 years. The Giza pyramids that are assigned to 4th dynasty rulers, the pharaoh Cheops or Khufu, the pharaoh Khafre or Khephren, and Mycerinus or Myceren. They did belong to the 4th dynasty rulers, but they were not the authors of the largest pyramid on the Giza plateau. Instead of pyramid after pyramid, ruler after ruler, the whole complex was built at the same time with the master plan. Again, older than 12,000 years, because they were there during the end of the last ice age and the biblical flood. 104 pyramids on Canary Islands, most of them in Tenerife. More than 300 pyramids in Peru, most of them much older than the officially accepted Peruvian history of 3,000 years. Acapena complex in Bolivia. In Central America, the Mayan civilization built well over 100,000 pyramids. For example, in Palenque, in the Mexican state of Chiapas, there are 25 cleared pyramids, but still 1,229 covered pyramid with the soil and vegetation. The interesting thing is that the largest pyramid is the oldest, and the Mexican government does not have intention to uncover it. Even on the US soil, there are so-called Cahokia Mounds in Cahokia National Park in the southwestern part of the state of Illinois. Those pyramids, not mounds, but step pyramids, they assign them to the American Indians. Everything they tell us about them is wrong. Cahokia was the minor Indian tribe from the 17th century, having nothing to do with those complexes. American Indians never built permanent structures, especially not pyramids. So they are not the author of those pyramids, of course, nor European settlers. So who built them? Somebody before them. So we need to change the history, even of the American continent. And finally, the European continent. 3 Palencia pyramids in central Spain. We do not know the builders. 5 complexes on Italian soil. We have 16 pyramids in ancient Greek tradition before ancient Greek as we know it, and finally the Bosnian pyramids. So now we can see that they were built all over the planet, most probably by different civilizations, but connected with the architecture knowledge about the pyramids. So they did communicate because they knew the power of pyramids, but they were built through different time periods. I would not stick to the classification they teach us, Egyptian, Chinese, Mayan pyramids. Actually, my classification, first, original, biggest, largest, most superior pyramids, which are energy machines, and those that they came much later, those replicas, they don't have the features of energy machines because humans who built them, they did not know scientific criteria to build pyramids with energy properties.
So essentially, it sounds like it is like a whole system of the pyramids all around the world, and the oldest world, the most sophisticated, which worked as energy machines, and then later we see some more replicas coming up, right?
That's correct. What we can see, for example, in China, the oldest pyramids are built from sandstone and granite. Those that they came later, mud bricks. In Egypt, limestone and granite from Aswan. And those that they came later, the 12th and 19th dynasty, mud brick. Even today, mud brick is the construction material. Mexico, the same thing. Indonesia or Bosnia, extremely old pyramids. So instead of idea that we had evolution everywhere, including technology, this thing about the evolution does not work here. The knowledge has been brought to us. By who? That's entirely different questions. Now, when it comes to the original builders, who were the original builders? Some people are saying maybe extraterrestrials. Some people are saying very advanced humans. As a scientist, I need to have hard proofs to make any conclusions. Now, it is possible that at one period in time, tens of thousands of years back, we did have very advanced humans. Of course, it is possible. They must have had access to the spiritual dimensions from where they were getting their knowledge. And then secondly, is it possible that somebody out of this planet built them? Well, until we prove differently, it is also a possibility. So I would say at this point, we have to be open for different options. And that's one of the things that make this world of pyramids so exciting, because we do not have the all answers.
Thank you so much for that. And you've given not only me and us here, but our audience something to think about in regards to the timeline of these pyramids and their construction, because there's a lot of uncanny similarities. And as we know, based upon the evolutionary perspective, the human brain hasn't changed that much in 500,000 years. So it's completely feasible, as a hypothesis. And we just have to find, as you say, the concrete proof to draw the conclusion and change our history. Thank you so much for answering my question.
Yes, welcome, Jason.
Dr. Osmanagich, if I may now ask. So, in your books, you always point on the importance of the pyramid's orientation. So, could you please tell us about orientation of pyramids according to the cardinal points along the stars? And also, the second part of the question, is there any pattern in between the locations of the pyramids? Thank you.
For more than 150 years, researchers and Egyptologists have been aware that the major Egyptian pyramids were having perfect orientation to the cardinal points. Now we know that the Great Pyramid of Egypt, or Khufu Pyramid, has the error from the perfect north of 0 degrees and only 3 minutes. The Khafre, the second largest, error of 0 degrees, 3 minutes. Mycerinos, or Mycerian Pyramid, 0 degrees and 18 minutes. The Bent Pyramid in Dahshur, 0 degrees and 12 minutes. Beautiful, harmonious Red Pyramid, also in Dahshur, 0 degrees and 5 minutes. Chinese pyramids, perfectly to the north. Indonesia, north. Kokher, Cambodia, north. I know that because I personally measured them. Pyramids in Peru, north. Some Mexican, north. All Cahokia pyramids in the US, north. The State Institute for Geodesy from Bosnia has measured the orientation of the Bosnian Pyramid of the Sun. Error from the perfect north, 0 degrees, 0 minutes, and 12 seconds. The most precise on the planet. So the question is, why would orient the pyramids with such a perfect precision to the cardinal points? Archaeologists, geologists, Egyptologists, they do not know. Independent researchers like Hancock and Schock and Boval and all these other generations, they do not know. Why? Because they don't have an engineering mind. They don't know energies. The brilliant mind of Nikola Tesla 120 years back, but also some researchers before and after him, they concluded that everything in nature is the energy. Or as Tesla said, everything is energy, frequency, vibration. Our planet, our Mother Earth, is huge energy ball. When you have energy balls, you have energy flows. Two strongest energy flows on our planet, north-south, east-west. You build four-sided pyramid. You orient those four sides to the cardinal points. It initiates the movement of the energy inside the pyramid. So the first energy flow within the pyramid goes from the bottom, hitting 1/3 of the height, coming back inside, going to 2/3, coming back to 1/3, and completing the circle. 2D, it looks like a triangle and circle. 3D, you have movement of the energy inside the pyramid, and interestingly enough, so-called kings and queens chambers in the Great Pyramid of Egypt are built exactly on the way of this energy flow. Why? Well, being exposed to the pyramid energy, it improves the molecular structure of human beings. So, this is the first energy flow, which is tied to the orientation of the pyramids. However, there are two more energy flows. The moment you have the pyramid, energy starts flowing on the base and as a spiral going through the very top. And we were the first one to measure this energy beam going through the top of the pyramid. And finally, the third energy flow goes off the pyramid on the ground in the concentric circles, affecting the crops, agriculture, even the societies and the social aspect, giving them the positive energies. So the reason why mainstream archaeologists, geologists, historians, anthropologists, museum curators could not decipher this is they are taught in schools how to discover pieces of pottery or primitive tools. Nobody teaches them at the universities about the energy aspect. And they jealously keep their pyramid projects for themselves. They need to open up and have multidisciplinary scientific approach. Your second question was about the layout of the pyramids and connection with the star constellations. There are a lot of stories from 1990s and Robert Boual's books about 3 Egyptian pyramids being laid out like those 3 stars of Orion belt. His second book was written with Graham Hancock. So from 1990s, the new scientific discipline has been very progressively approached to the research of pyramids. Now, it is very possible that those 3 pyramids have the same layout like those 3 stars of Orion belt, even though even better fit is with 3 stars of Cygnus star constellations. How about Bosnian pyramids? So far we have 6 pyramids discovered, and 5 of them perfectly match locations of 5 stars out of 7 of the star constellations of Pleiades. So it is very possible that there was a connection with the Bosnian pyramids and the Pleiades star constellation. 3 major pyramids in Teotihuacan in Mexico, the pyramids of Sun, Moon, and Quetzalcoatl, they have the same layout like Giza pyramids. 3 major pyramids in Palencia, near Valladolid in Spain, the same layout like Mexican or Egyptian. So it seems that, yes, the layout was very important for the pyramid builders, and yes, the pyramids usually come as part of the complexes.
Thank you very much.
Very interesting.
Yes, and you mentioned that some of the Mexican pyramids, and I think some others also on the planet, they are oriented a little bit differently, right? So can we say that maybe there was something different at the times than these other pyramids were built, that complexes of pyramids are oriented to a different North Pole, if I may say so?
Well, this is my experience. The island of Tenerife, Canary Islands, the pyramids over there, especially in the Guimar Park, they are 4-sided stepped pyramids. When you climb, for example, as they call it, structure number 1, when you climbed it from the western side during the most important day for the ancients, and that was June 21st, or the day of summer solstice, the day when the daylight is the longest, 16 hours, the day when the sun rays are the strongest and our mother planet is the healthiest. So on that particular day, when you climb through top, there is a terrace on the top, you can see the sun rising exactly in the middle of this terrace, meaning this eastern slope of the pyramid has perfect orientation to the sun rising during the summer solstice. June 21st. And when you go to the island of Mauritius, they have 7 beautiful pyramids, also stepped in design, built from the volcanic stone, and I calculated about 20,000 shaped volcanic rocks were needed to build this complex. We have the same situation. You are climbing on a western slope during the summer solstice. However, the island of Mauritius is in southern hemisphere. So summer over there and summer solstice is on December 21st. So the sunrise, again, exactly in the middle of this platform. So we can see that sometimes the pyramids were oriented to the east towards the sunrise during the summer solstice, telling us they knew the significance of this day. However, there are more pyramids, like majority of Mexican pyramids. And in their case, it's 15, 20 degrees off the cardinal points. Some researchers use that as the arguments that at one point, the northern and southern pole did not have the same position. It is possible. However, for those particular pyramids, especially in Mexico, we know that they are not, majority of them, they are not older than 3,000-4,000 years. Some of them 5,000 or 6,000, and Teotihuacan, most probably more than 12,000. So I would say they had different reference points. Sometimes we know which one, sometimes we don't. Personally, why the Teotihuacan pyramids have they are so much off the cardinal points, I'm not quite sure. In some other cases, let's say Monte Alban, that's a beautiful city of pyramids in the state of Oaxaca in central Mexico. All the pyramids, they are north-south oriented, except one. And that one is 45 degrees off. In that particular case, the corner of the pyramid has the perfect orientation. In Bosnia, out of 6 pyramids, which we named Pyramids of the Sun, Moon, Dragon, Earth, Love, and the 6th pyramid, one of them, the Love pyramid, is also 45 degrees moved. So the corner is looking to the cardinal points. So I would say the builders knew why would they do something like that. And finally, in one case, the Bent pyramid in Egypt, in Dahshur, it's a huge pyramid. It has 2 different angles. It has 43 degrees and 54 degrees. Just to have a parallel, the Khufu pyramid, Great Pyramid of Egypt, 52, 52, so 52 degrees. Red Pyramid, 43. But Bent, 43 and then 54. Why such 2 different angles? Well, Egyptologists are saying that when they started building, it was so steep that they would experience some structural problems. So they had changed the angle, so they made a smaller pyramid. It is very naive, and I'm very sad to see that generations of Egyptologists do believe such bedtime stories. If they knew that pyramids were energy machines, they would know exactly why they changed the angle at 1/3 of the height. Why? Because the energy is coming to this point, and when you change the angle, then it speeds up the energy movements. So they were basically experimenting with different angles. Have in mind that in Egypt they built pyramid with different angles, anywhere from 36 to 70 degrees. So basically they were getting different energy properties. It has always been about the energy.
Oh, interesting. Thank you very much. And another question about orientation. We have found some information that all the pyramids, they are somehow related to the Mount Kailash, which we can also consider as a pyramid in some sort. Can you please elaborate on that?
Mount Kailash is extremely important mountain, which is called the Holy Mountain for 4 religions. As we know, it is located in Western Tibet. It is part of the Himalayan chain. It is not the biggest mountain there, though. The Mount Kailash is about almost 7,000 meters in height. But it has been holy mountain for the Buddhists, for the Hindu, and some other religions. When you look at it, you can recognize 4 sides. However, Mount Kailash does not have geometry of the pyramid. Geometry of the pyramid means that you have 4 triangular faces, 4 corners. It's not the case here, but Mount Kailash does have 4 sides. They are more like rectangular rather than, triangular, but very distinctive 4 sides and a good orientation to the cardinal points. When you analyze the material, this is limestone mountain. You don't have blocks. In Egypt, you have those limestone blocks. You have, granite blocks. In Peru, you have adobe bricks. In Guatemala, you have volcanically shaped blocks, volcanic blocks. In Mexico, you have sandstone and granite. You have sandstone and granite in China. In Bosnia, you have concrete blocks, rectangular and square. And this is an artificial construction material. Mount Kailash does not have such blocks, perfectly regular. It's a limestone mountain. However, it looks like that some great powers have shaped Mount Kailash in very distant past, not humans for sure. But even more interesting fact is that Mount Kailash, when you look at it, is surrounded by 10 pyramidal hills and mountains, geometrically very regular. Some of them are stepped pyramids, and some of them are true pyramids. Now, in order to understand why we have such a complex, we had excellent Bosnian experience. Namely, the key structure in Bosnia is the Bosnian Pyramid of the Sun. As the highest, the largest, it's 2 times higher than the Great Pyramid of Egypt, which is 146.6 meters, Bosnian over 300 meters. But then around Bosnian pyramids, we have the Bosnian Pyramid of the Moon, and we also measure the energy beam on the top. This energy beam is moved a little bit towards the Sun Pyramid. Then we have more pyramids, the Love and Temple of Mother Earth. We have a tumulus. Tumulus is an artificial conical hill. It also has this energy beam, which is looking towards the Sun Pyramid. And then it seems with all this supportive energy, the Bosnian Pyramid of the Sun generates very strong and huge energy beam going exactly up. At first we thought that it goes 90 degrees towards the sky, but no. In the morning, this energy beam is moved a little bit to the east. Noontime, south. Afternoon, southwest. Evening, west. And that's exactly the path of our sun, morning east, south, west. Does it mean that Bosnian pyramids communicate with our Father, with the sun? It is possible. Does it mean that this energy beam uses the sun as a cosmic gate, and through this gate to communicate with other solar systems and other galaxies? At this point, it is possible. And maybe we do have something that I could call the cosmic internet, with the two ways movement of these energy beams, of this cosmic energy. So going back to the Kailash, it seems that all these pyramidal, shaped hills give certain energy power to Kailash. Now, there is no known person ever climbing the Kailash mountain, even though some people did have permissions, but because of very strong pressure coming from India and China and Tibet and Nepal and other countries, nobody really climbed it because of the respect. So nobody measured if there is energy beam on the top or not. So sometimes it's good to apply some of the spiritual aspects, meditations, for example. While I was there, the information I was getting through my focus meditation was that yes, there are very advanced and intelligent forms below the Mount Kailash, and yes, the energy flow is generated which encompasses the whole planet, and through this energy, those intelligent communities can affect certain spiritual processes around the planet.
Wow, that's fantastic. Dr. Osmanagich, it's so interesting what you were talking about Kailash mountain and this beam of the energy coming from Bosnian pyramid. Could you, you mentioned that there is a beam coming from the pyramid and a beam coming from the space. Were you able to measure the second beam coming from the space, or it's a kind of part of the theory yet?
The pyramids, with their geometry, they emit the energy. They are transmitters, but they are also antennas. They receive the energy. So you have to have two-way energy movement. What we've been doing, we've been measuring everything scientifically. For example, we've been sending drones above the top of the Bosnian Pyramid of the Sun. For example, we hang the oscilloscope. Oscilloscope measures the electromagnetic field. So in the past 10 years, we've been measuring 7 different energy phenomena: electromagnetism, electrical field only, magnetic field only, ultrasound, infrasound, the temperature, and the level of orgone energy. The most amazing results were in the field of electricity. Through the very top of the pyramid, we have measured this energy field, which is electrical in nature. It has frequency of 28 kilohertz. It is focused and it is continuous, because we measure it during different seasons: spring and summer and fall and winter. It's always there. Since the age of the Bosnian Pyramid of the Sun, scientifically verified through the radiocarbon dating, is supposed to be 29,200 years, plus minus 400 years. It seems that we are in the present of the oldest pyramid, energy machine, and maybe the first perpetual motion machine. Another interesting thing, we noticed that the radius of this energy beam at the top is 4.5 meters. And as it goes higher, it expands to 20 meters. At basically the first point, 21 meters above the top, is 20 meters wide, the largest, strongest, and widest. And then it comes back to 4.5, 20, 4.5, 20, 4.5. So basically, what we have here is what Nikola Tesla called scalar wave. So if we have Tesla's scalar waves on the top of the Bosnian pyramid of the sun, it would be that for the first time somebody in the world has proven that pyramids do generate this energy beam, which is extremely important. Tesla was the first one who was investigating those subtle, soft energies. But in the last 50 years, the Russian physicists have continued this research. Why? Because the transportation of the energy through the scalar waves is much quicker than the speed of light. How is that possible? When they teach us that Albert Einstein's hypothesis from 100 years ago was that the biggest speed in the universe is the speed of light, which is close to 300,000 kilometers per second. And he claims that if you try to move quicker, you are going to dematerialize. Well, according to our Russian colleagues, there are different ways to move the energy to move it. But if we send the speed of light to the sun, it takes 7.5 minutes. If you send it to the northern star, the brightest star, 700 years. If you send it to the middle of the galaxy, Milky Way, 40,000 years. And if you send it to the center of the universe, where the old guy in the white robe and the white long bird is sitting, being very busy, creating planets, solar systems, galaxies, different forms of lives, it takes 5 billion years. 5 billion years for the speed of light to get there. So imagine that we are sending the information from our planet, which is a child, to the Creator. We are sending it over there to the center of the universe. It takes 5 billion years. By the time we got the answer back from the Creator, another 5 billion years, in 10 billion years, we're gonna get very, very long white bird waiting for the information to come from the source. That's why the speed of light is not practical from the universal point of view. And Tesla's scalar waves almost instantly, momentarily, can go from one end of the galaxy to another one.
Wow, yeah, that's really cool information. Just, I have one more quick question. Is it safe to be exposed to this beam? Is it safe to be on the top of the pyramid? How is it to people?
Short answer, yes. It is safe. Long answer, why frequency of 28 kilohertz? This is the planetary frequency. Now, let me give you an example of artificially made frequency. In our homes, we have voltage of 220 volts and 50 megahertz frequency. If there is a loose wire, you touch it, it kills you. This is the frequency that we, invented. In America, 110 volts and 60 megahertz, the same thing. Our mobile phones, if it is in Ukraine, in Bosnia, 3G, it is 2.4 giga. If it is Western Europe, mostly 4G, America, South Korea, Australia, Holland, it's 5G. It's all the way up to 100 gigahertz. These are radio waves. Microwave is based on radio waves. It's been proven that microwave causes the cancer. And we use with these phones, every time when we answer the phone or when we dial the phone, we are exposed to this gigahertz frequency. Every time we talk, it kills our brain cells. It burns them. So this is an example of frequencies that we invent. The ancients were much smarter than us. They were amplifying existing natural frequencies. They were amplifying natural sources because they knew that the shape of the pyramid, and for our planet, it is four-sided pyramid. It's the most powerful geometrical shape when it comes to amplifying the energies. So they would amplify the natural sources of energy. They would get a lot of natural energies which can only be beneficial to us. And that's 28 kilohertz. Nikola Tesla, again, 120 years back, built famous Wardenclyffe Tower in the state of New York. Even though he made just a very few experiments because of lack of money, and of course problems with the JP Morgan, because JP Morgan did not want clean, unlimited, and free energy, unlike Tesla. So after a few experiments, Tesla was writing in his diary, "I have found a way to transport unlimited quantities of energy, thousands of horsepowers, from one planet to another, regardless of their distance." And the frequency he was using was 28 kilohertz. Exactly the same frequency that we measured on the top of the Bosnian Pyramid of the Sun. Tesla, through unsuccessful and successful experiments, got the best frequency to transport information. And the Bosnian pyramid builders knew that 30,000 years back.
Yeah, thank you very much for that answer. Yeah, and we have another question, of course, for you.
Okay. Of course, Doctor, we have a few questions and you've already given us so many things to think about. But earnestly, it would be disingenuous if I don't ask you this sidebar question before I go into my question. As we know, Latin pir is fire, right? And mid is center. So we're discussing this and we're discussing the geometry of these things. And pyramid actually means the fire in the middle. And so we're talking in terms of energy and we're talking in terms of observable energetic effects. And it's really going to be interesting in the near future because we're just now getting to the precipice of quantum biology. You know, so in the very near future, it will be more than practical to test the effects of this energy on our helical structure of the human body. I mean, it will simply be provable. So thank you for what you have shared so far. my following question will be, why, in the majority of cases, are these complexes? Meaning they are schematically placed together using either sacred geometry or trigonometry. So it's a practical design, right? And are they designed to work together? And is there any correlation as a system, complex system around the globe? You've kind of answered that, but I want to hear an elaboration for our audience, please.
Okay, you have actually several questions there.
Yes, yes.
The Latin, actually, before ancient Romans, we have ancient Greeks who were traveling to Egypt and who were talking to the priests there who had the knowledge from the Library of Alexandria. It was before the time when the Egyptians lost the memory and knowledge about the pyramids, and they started talking about the bedtime stories, pyramids being built by the Pharaoh Khufu and so on. Before that, they knew that the purpose of pyramids has something to do with the energy. And you're right, in ancient Greek, the pyramidos is, fire in the middle. And we've been proving that in our Bosnian case. Secondly, about the effects of the pyramid energy on humans, and I would put it a little bit wider than that, the pyramid energy does affect us, humans, but also animals, plants, water, objects, atmosphere. It simply improves the molecular structure. In the case of the people, I would say they start the regeneration process, and if we got lucky, the rejuvenation process. In the case of animals or plants, again, healing process. 3 years back, we did experiment with the seeds of the beans. In the month of May, beginning of May, we had several bags with the beans. One we used as the control group. The other one we put in the tunnels under the Bosnian pyramids, and the third one we put on the top of the Bosnian Pyramid of the Sun. And then after the 2 weeks incubation process, we were checking the germinization process. How many of the seeds will start growing? In the case of control group, it was 60%. And we know when we buy the seeds in the store, not every seed will start growing. So about 60%. It was normal. But seeds from the tunnels and from the top of the pyramid being exposed to the pyramid energy, in their case, it was 100%. So the pyramid energy simply improves the molecular structure literally of everything. When it comes to the water, we discovered 5 tunnels with the water, which has been there for tens of thousands of years. We sent it to late Dr. Masaru Emoto 7 years back, who became popular by freezing different samples of water at minus 20 degrees and then filming them through the electronic microscope. Now we know that the molecular structure from different samples is different. If it is contaminated water, because of the low level of energy, there is no structure there. It looks bad. If it is the water being exposed to the heavy metal music, this water looks all scared. If it is water being exposed to the Mozart, beautiful cosmic music, it's getting beautiful hexagonal shape. If it is water being exposed to, let's say, mantra from a Buddhist priest, telling the water for 1 hour, I love you, and really meaning that, the water again is getting beautiful hexagonal shape. And the water from Bosnian pyramids, it also had hexagonal shape with a beautiful, crystal-like shape, meaning this is energetically alive water. It's a happy water. So the pyramid energy simply improves, like I said, everything. Now we are coming to the next question. You mentioned very important elements for the pyramids: sacred geometry, the holy geometry. The ancient pyramid, but also megalithic sites, builders, were using elements of sacred geometry, such as equilateral triangle. Why equilateral triangle? You can connect 3 dots in unlimited different ways, but only one way gives you equilateral triangle, 3 sides the same length, and inner angles at 60 degrees. Therefore, it's perfect, it's unique, it's part of the sacred geometry. Hexagonal shape, hexagonal, 6 angles, 6 equilateral triangles, very powerful geometrical shape. Number pi, 3.14, part of sacred geometry, and number phi, or golden section, golden number, is 1.618, is also part of sacred geometry. Take, for example, the length at the base of the Great Pyramid of Egypt, 231 meters, 2 lengths 462, divided by height 146.6, the result 3.14, number pi. Or the golden section spiral in the Giza plateau, you start the spiral and all 3 pyramids are sitting on the line of this spiral. And the Sphinx is sitting exactly in the cross of the golden section. So the layout was always extremely important. The same layout in Spain, Teotihuacan in Mexico. What do we have in the case of Bosnian pyramids? These are discoveries from this year, 2020. If you start your golden section spiral from the top of the Bosnian pyramid of the sun, on the line of the spiral we have the top of the Love pyramid and 2 more pyramidal hills, Krtnica and Chetnica. Second, we have 2 major rivers in the Bosnian Valley of Pyramids. We call them River Bosna, the largest Bosnian river, and River Fonica. It seems that River Fonica, which was flowing to the north, at one point between the Pyramid of the Moon and Pyramid of the Dragon, has been moved for 90 degrees artificially, so it enters the Valley of Pyramids, flowing exactly to River Bosna. So the place where this one flows to the Bosna River is actually artificially made. So when we use this point as the beginning of the spiral, on the line of the spiral we have top of the Sun Pyramid, entrance to Ravne tunnels, and the tumulus in the village of Vratnica. Vratnica in Bosnian, Vratnica, Vrata, it means gate to the Valley of the Pyramid. So we have 3 major structures on this golden section spiral. And finally, the third one, when we make this golden section spiral from those 2 rivers, from that point, we have 17 smaller rivers and lakes in the wider region. So, the elements of sacred geometry extremely important. They're always connected with the water, of course, in our Bosnian case. Why? Elements of sacred geometry amplifies the movement of the energy. It has always been about the energy, and when you have water moving, it initiates the movement of the energy. So somebody had a brilliant mind to use the whole surrounding areas, using the natural sources, the water movement, and one more element, quartz crystal. Sandstone, quartz crystal. Volcanic stone, quartz crystal. We have granite, quartz crystal. 5%, 10%, 14%. Why is quartz crystal so important? below the Bosnian pyramid of the sun, we have huge iron plate or iron ore. Iron generates electromagnetic field. An electromagnetic field hits the quartz crystal. You have a process that engineers know as the piezoelectrical effect. It transforms one form of the energy, electromagnetism, to another one, ultrasound. And on the Bosnian pyramids, in the Bosnian pyramid tunnels, we measure the presence of the ultrasound, or to be more precise, frequency of 28 kilohertz. And we know from the research that this frequency is known as the levitation frequency. American researcher Ralph Frink was experimenting with frequencies of the ultrasound. Sound is something that we can hear from 20 hertz to 20 kilohertz. Everything above 20 kilohertz is called ultrasound. So he was producing 20 kilohertz, 22, 25, 28. When he came to 28, he had table tennis ball, ping pong ball, above the sound speaker. At the frequency of 28, the ball started going to the air, because the ball is rather light. He left the machine on, went to bed, came back next morning, the ball was still in the air, meaning he discovered the frequency of the levitation. The ancients knew the levitation frequency.
Wow,
Wow.
this is
Wow.
amazing. This is amazing. By hearing you, actually, it seems that the pyramid is a self-working device. There's a question that just came to my mind, and do you think that could be something more to it, that by bringing some kind of an operator, like a human, all of these energy flows could be impacted, or could be strengthened, modified, or what are your thoughts in this perspective?
So far, we have concluded that the ancient builders were using the whole landscape in a central Bosnia to make this complex. They were using the pyramid shapes, four-sided pyramids. They were using the elements of sacred geometry. They were using the quartz crystal. They were using the water moving above the surface, under the ground. They were using tunnels. Tunnels amplifies the energies also. But the question is, how could know about very specific frequencies, and did they need anything else besides the moving water to initiate these energy movements, and at one point to amplify this energy beam? And this is basically what you are aiming to. And I would say probably yes. They had to have device. With the device, they could focus, they could amplify the energies, they could move it wherever they wanted to. And it's like with the lasers. If you have a laser, you can make very precise cut, you can use it to benefit the humanity. But on the other hand, if you use it for the military purposes, you can start shooting the enemies. And obviously for those enemies, the laser energy won't be so beneficial. Is it possible that somebody in the distant past was using those big energy machines that were amplifying the planetary energies? Have in mind that before 12,000 years back, before the end of the last ice age and the huge catastrophes that followed, that our mother planet was much stronger. So when you amplify the strong energy, it is even stronger. So is it possible that somebody was abusing this energy, taking advantage of it, and somebody decided, to cut with this energy usage? It is very possible. What we can see in the case of all pyramids, all major, big, superior pyramids like Chinese or Egyptian or Bosnian or Mexican, is that the top is missing. This top, which is also pyramidal in shape, is called pyramidion. And usually pyramidion was built from the better quality material, granite, gold, plated granite, or gold. So the pyramidion is missing. It means that you cannot focus and calibrate the energy the way you want it. And then you can see that a lot of pyramids have been damaged. For example, I mentioned Bent Pyramid in Egypt. The corners have been almost destroyed. Other pyramids also. The Bosnian Pyramid of the Sun corner, and we know that through our archaeological excavation between the northern and eastern slope, it also had been damaged. So somebody was damaging the pyramids, and as a matter of fact, the southern slope of the Bosnian Pyramid of the Sun has been completely either destroyed or damaged. So once they damage the machine, the slopes, corners, pyramidions being removed, and most probably some artificial device being removed. Now, because of presence of all other elements, we can measure some energy phenomena. However, it is not an original energy machine anymore.
Mm-hmm. And this draws me actually to the next question. And as we can say, and you also mentioned that there are basically various kinds of pyramid, various shapes of pyramids. There are steps pyramids, no steps pyramids. Then there are these pyramid without this top that you just mentioned. Do you think that there might be difference in the purpose of this pyramid? Do you think they were designed for a different activity, or do they have different properties?
Yes, I believe that the slope, design, the material would affect the energy they were getting. For example, the best case, of course, is the Bosnian pyramids, because we've been researching thoroughly for the last 15 years. We have three major pyramids, Sun, Moon, and Dragon. When you connect their tops, you are getting equilateral triangle. But their materials are different. The Bosnian Pyramid of the Sun is made from the concrete blocks. And the concrete is made from the pebbles, rocks, sand, water, and clay. And the Bosnian Pyramid of the Moon is made from the sandstone plates, sandstone tiles. The Sun Pyramid is what we call the true pyramid. The Moon Pyramid is terraced pyramid. Terrace from sandstone plates, layers of clay. Sandstone plates, clay. Sandstone tiles, clay. So, different slopes, different materials, different energies. Now, we know that under every pyramid in Bosnia, we have water reservoirs. When the water in those accumulations are exposed to the pyramid energy, it becomes beneficial, healing water, but with a little bit different properties. It is like with our mineral waters today. For example, in Bosnia, we have more than 20 different mineral waters. Some of them has more magnesium, some of them more calcium, different minerals, but they are all good, but they are different. The same thing goes with the energy properties of pyramids. They affect surrounding areas, water, minerals, people, life in general, differently. So imagine if we could connect the water under the Sun Pyramid and Moon and Dragon, they're all beneficial, but if you mix them Then you can get super healing water, and then you can play with that. So I would say, yes, the ancients were using a little bit different properties in order to get different energies that can be used for different purposes.
Thank you.
I would like to ask the next questions, like you already mentioned in different building materials. And could you please explain what is the theory behind the material selections? And because like we observe different kind of materials, different shape of blocks, and there is even, we found case, then there is the geopolymer with magnetic properties were used, for example, in hummingbird pyramid in Latin America. So what is the reason for that?
Now, the ancients were using mostly local materials. I mentioned that, for example, in Peru, they were using adobe bricks. Adobe bricks is made from desert sand, clay, water. You mix it, you put it in the mold under the sun for 20-25 days. It gets harder. You have those bricks which you can use in the pyramid construction. In some cases, like the Pyramid of the Sun, Huaca del Sol, and Huaca de la Luna, the Pyramid of the Moon, in Trujillo, in northeastern Peru, they used over 150 million bricks to build each structure. It's a huge quantity. In other cases, like Guatemala, with over 36 volcanoes, they were actually shaping the volcanic material to get beautiful rectangular blocks, and they were building those pyramids. Now, volcanic material also has the energy properties, iron, minerals. Mexico, I mentioned sandstone and granite, and then we have content of the quartz crystal. So the ancients were always using this energy potent material. But you also mentioned another thing, geopolymer. Geopolymerization is a process that's been very old, but just recently it's been explained. First, by French scientist called Professor Joseph Davidovits. He came in 1979 with the theory that the blocks at the Giza Plateau, which were used to build Great Pyramid, were actually artificially made geopolymer blocks. Until then, Egyptology considered that the ancients were shaping local limestone. They were making those blocks, moving them from 4 different places, all near Cairo, and they built the pyramid, plus they used the granite from 880 kilometers from the south. So granite and limestone. However, Joseph Davidovich was checking the structure, the chemical, physical structure of those blocks, and he concluded that there were 2 elements that he could not find in any quarry around Cairo. His conclusion was that somebody was melting the natural limestone, adding 2 additives to make the blocks stronger. And then from a liquid form, when it got dried, he got perfectly hard and strong blocks. Well, at the moment when he first mentioned his theory, the Egyptologists furiously attacked him, saying that he's talking nonsense. During the 1980s, he's been aggressively attacked, and finally, when he established his own institute for geopolymerization, he did an experiment in the front of TV, and there is a beautiful documentary about it. where he was using the same percentage of the material from the limestone quarry in Cairo, adding those additives, and when those blocks got dried in those big molds, he got exactly the same replica like the blocks that can be seen in the Great Pyramid of Egypt. So basically he has proven his theory, and most probably he is right, that majority, not all of them, but majority of the blocks that are used for the Great Pyramid of Egypt were actually artificial concrete material or artificial geopolymer blocks. Now, with those additives, of course, they could play with different energy properties.
Wow, yeah, that's clear. Yeah, like I'm familiar with works of Joseph Davidovich, and I was really impressed. Like, first my exposure was when I was reading about Puma Punku complex. I was really impressed, and all this, I have PhD in chemistry, so like I'm really familiar with this materials, and like to me, the proofs what he's given, it is more than sufficient, and he's doing really sophisticated research on that. Yeah, like, and yeah, thank you very much.
Well, yes, Davidovich also claims that some of the structures in Peru were built using geopolymerization process. And in order to explain how come they melted natural stone to get it to the liquid state, he has even discovered some of the local plants, very acidic, capable of melting the stone, adding the additives, or at least making a very soft mass that you can play with and you can shape it and so on. So this is very possible. And the guy who actually continued his work is Professor Michael Barsom. And Michael also confirmed Davidovich's theory, and then he was exposed to a lot of critiques from his colleagues, because every time you come up with some of the new theories, people who feel threatened that status quo will be changed, and they, aggressively attacks their colleagues. I know both professors. With Joseph Davidovich, I even had several lectures at different conferences, and he got samples from our structure, the tumulus in Vratnica. That was not the best concrete that we had, but I gave it to him. He said this was geopolymer concrete. But then he got also a lot of pressure from the colleagues, not to recognize the Bosnian pyramid theory. And when I sent my samples to this other professor, Michael Barsom, he got them. He said, yes, that was geopolymer. But then in additional experiments, he was able to retrieve some material, organic material. But when he got 50,000 years age, he said, oh, it is impossible. There were no civilization there. So he stopped communicating with me. So even those advanced, researchers, they have their own limits.
Actually, you bring an interesting point that I'm going to ask at the end. I just wanted to elaborate for our audience that it's completely findable about these plants that grow in these local areas due to adaptation, quote unquote, have the ability to basically melt the rocks that they surround in order to grow. And these chemical alkaloids that these plants give off very well may have been used by the ancients. And another process of how they actually made it go from a liquid state to a solid state is still in question.
Thank you so much, Doctor. Could you please let me make a comment? Like, I just, as a chemist, I would like to make clarification that essentially when we talk about melting, I think we are talking about dissolution process, when the fruit acids are involved, so that to don't make our viewers confused about the melting, because essentially the definition for melting would be using high temperature in order to bring the solid to the liquid state. So this was
Yes.
just my quick comment.
Yes, yes, you're right.
No, perfect summation. Thank you.
Now, for the viewers who are not familiar with the Bosnian pyramid complex, 6 huge pyramids and huge network of underground tunnels. So far, we have discovered 6 entrances to different tunnels. And so far, we discovered 2 levels of tunnels. The first level, our best known tunnels Ravne, we have cleared 2.2 kilometers of existing prehistorical tunnels. We also discovered Ravne 2 tunnels. That's the second level, 5 meters below the first one. Then Ravne 3, Ravne 4, healing tunnels, KTK. So the whole valley in Visoko is in those underground tunnels. Most probably we have between 3 and 7 levels. The ancients were capable of doing a huge construction feat, huge construction work. They knew engineering, construction, static. So thermodynamics, you go to those tunnels. One entrance, you breathe perfectly. You move through tunnels for hundreds of meters. You go deeper and deeper. You breathe better and better. Not very logical, but nothing in Bosnia is logical. We've noticed that people with the respiratory problems, asthma, infections, and so on, they go inside after one visit. They have such a relief. They don't need air pumps, inhalators, for 1 week or 3 or even 6 months. People with a high blood pressure, it gets normalized. People with a high sugar in the blood, it comes back to the normal level. People with the very major healing problems, health problems, we can see sensational improvements. So we've been thinking, the pyramid energy, the purposes, the first one through energy being communication. The second one, we have these healing properties of the pyramid energies, the best electromagnetic field, the best ultrasound frequency, the best very low frequency of 7.83 Hertz. In science, it is called the original Schumann resonance, which brings you back to the balance. Very high concentration of negative ions. Negative ions clean our body from the microbes. And microbes are viruses, bacteria, fungi. They gives us more oxygen in our body. We are more productive. We can do more. So it seems that the healing aspect is the second most important aspect for the pyramid energy. I mentioned water, improvement of the molecular structure of the water, food, our spiritual abilities, our immunity, our auric field, our chakras, going back to the balance, atmosphere improvement. The ancients were smart. They knew that the pyramid energy can improve literally anything and everything.
Awesome, thank you. Doctor, you just mentioned the Schumann resonance frequency, so we know it's 7.83 Hertz. And can you please expand a little bit on this topic to understand how the pyramids are related? Can they stabilize or modify or be in tune with these?
Yes. From 11,700 years back until 1990, there was only one resonance of this planet. It was 7.83 Hertz. Again, the brilliant Nikola Tesla, 120 years back, said that our planet resonates at about 8 Hertz. Austrian von Schumann, 50 years back, got it measured very precisely, 7.83 Hertz. And we are all born at this frequency. This is our natural frequency, natural resonance, natural, let's call it energy field. However, from 1990, our technology has been progressing and developing at such pace that so much bad electromagnetic field has been generated. TVs, computers, laptops, mobile phones, microwaves, our electrical grid, American Project HARP. And this bad electromagnetic field, or EM smoke, it has to go somewhere. It goes to the ionosphere around our planet. If we agree that our Mother Earth is spherical. So it goes to the ionosphere and it puts the pressure on our planet. So what does she do? She starts, oscillating a little bit higher, 8 hertz, 10 hertz, 12 hertz, 15 hertz. But this is not good because now we don't have our natural resonance. And with not living in our natural resonance, our body cells feel that as a pressure, as a tension, which causes stress. And then stress causes between 50 and 80% of all our diseases, with the high blood pressure, with the cardiovascular problems, with the higher sugar in the blood, and so on. And guess what? Using very precise instruments, we measured inside the Bosnian pyramid tunnels 7.83 hertz. On the Bosnian pyramid of the Sun, 7.83, Moon, 7.83, Tumulus in Vratnica, 7.83. But when you get closer to the electrical pole and our electricity, it goes higher, 10, 12, 15. Contaminated cities with so much EM smoke, Munich or London or Kiev or Belgrade or Sarajevo, they are already between 12 and 15 hertz. Again, you go to non-scientific sites like Wikipedia, you will read Schumann resonance, or according to the Western researchers, it is fixed, it cannot be changed. Well, people who measure it in Finland, in Russia, in Bosnia, we have proven that it's been changed. And it seems that the pyramids, by keeping this natural resonance, keep our planet stable. So in one of your questions, you asked me about the network of pyramids. Is it possible that somebody was strategically laying out pyramids on all continents, on both hemispheres? It is possible. Is it possible that it was multi-purpose machines? Of course it is possible, because if they were built by more advanced communities, builders, of course they will not use only one purpose, but several of them. And as I mentioned, communication, stability of the planet, water, plants, animals, humans, auric field, and so on.
Yeah, very interesting. Dr. Osmanagich, we also know that you've also investigated the spheres. Could we ask you to touch upon this topic as well, outlining what material are they constructed of, what was the purpose of them, and maybe also why this spherical shape was selected?
1940s and 1950s in southern Costa Rica, near the town of Palmar Sur, American Fruit Company was removing parts of the Costa Rican jungle in order to plant the banana trees. And as we know, the Central American countries, bananas, later on banana republics. Well, they removed less than 1% of the jungle near the delta of the river Dikis, and they discovered 398 perfectly spherical stone balls. The one shown on this photo is the one from Bosnia, and I'll come to that one. So, all of them in Costa Rica were made from granodiorite. It's a type of granite extremely hard. The largest one, the biggest mass, 25 tons. In western Mexico, near the town of Ahualco, 250 volcanic stone balls. Isla del Cano, the small island in the Pacific. I'm telling you the places where I saw them and filmed them, and they were made from coquina. Coquina is some type of like a sandstone material. New Zealand's hundreds of them. You go to Wikipedia, they will tell you, oh, they are natural geological phenomenon, blah, blah, blah. In southwestern oasis in Egypt, they were made from the limestone. In Tunisia, sandstone. In Istanbul, Hagia or Hagia Sophia, sandstone. In Serbia, volcanic stone. In Croatia, granite. In Bosnia, our foundation that I established 15 years back under the name Archaeological Park Bosnian Pyramid of the Sun Foundation, we've been systematically researching this phenomenon, and we've discovered them on 20 different locations in Bosnia from 4 different materials: granite, volcanic stone, sandstone, and limestone. Granite, they shaped them. Volcanic stone, they shaped them. Limestone, they shaped them. Sandstone, it seems that they melt them at the high temperatures, adding additives to make them much stronger. Now, we've noticed that they added manganum, which is even used today to add the strength to different materials. So we have extremely hard stone balls all around the planet. Geologists are saying, oh, they are natural, made by wind and the water. Well, granite never comes spherical. Volcanic stones, always irregular shapes. Sandstone, limestone, the same thing. So why would somebody make so many stone spheres? In Costa Rica, 398, in an area less than 1% of the jungle. If we are able to retrieve all of them 5, 6, or 10 meters below the ground, probably we would have them 100,000 or millions. We don't know. In San Jose museums, they are saying, oh, they are territorial markers for Indian tribes. In Costa Rica, they only had 2 Indian tribes. They don't have technology even today to shape granite. 1 ball, not to mention thousands of millions. In Bosnia, 4 different materials. So obviously there is an intention of some very old advanced civilizations. Why? There is a new science that investigates the effects of different geometrical shapes on energy. And 3 most powerful shapes are the shapes of pyramid, and as I mentioned earlier, for our planet, 4-sided pyramid. Then the second one is conical shape. Conical, that's the reason why we have so many tumuli, tumulus phenomenon, from Salisbury Hill in southern England, western France, Bulgaria, Macedonia, Bosnia, and so on. And the third one is spherical shape. Those 3 shapes, they amplify the energies, but in different ways. Now, because of their size, we can say that big pyramids are big power plants. Tumulus, bigger tumulus, they're like mid-sized power plants. And concentration of the stone spheres, they are mini power plants. Interesting thing is, when you have shape of the pyramid, you always have this energy being going through the top and as an antenna receiving another one. When you have conical shape, very similar phenomenon. But when you have spherical shape, remember the domes and the big church complexes. This energy remains inside, hitting the top, coming back. Why would we have domes at very potent energy places, let's say in England? Because they were building churches on the places of the pagan temples. And they were built at the locations of even older temples and structures. As we know in southern England, they were all built on the ley lines. Ley lines are energy lines of the cosmic origin. They run straight, in most cases, east, west, north, south. So those ley lines, they were energy potent places. When you built your, let's say, stone temple, megalithic circle, or dome, you amplify the energies. In the case of dome, the energy stays within the dome or within the church. So the message, but originally stone balls were usually located by the rivers. They would amplify the energy of the moving water, and that was natural energy, which can be beneficial for our health and spiritual abilities and so on.
I think it's really brilliant explanation and brilliant analogy. Thank you very much for that. To me, it sounds like some kind of some accumulators of the energy. So that's really, really fantastic information. You know, like we are unfortunately running out of time, but we have of course many more questions which we will ask you during the Kaleidoscope of Facts, but we also would really like to talk about your team. And I think it is very important to talk about this because you were able to attract so many people and to inspire them. And basically this, your project, the Bosnian Pyramid of Valley, it's become the most active archaeological project. And you're using like all these high-tech methods which were never applied to the pyramids. And it seems to be coming more and more. And like a lot of people now, even though it's a kind of not really getting so popular on mainstream TVs, I think all people hearing about that. So could you please share your thoughts, like what is this for you? What brings all these people together? How do you think, like what unites these people and what makes this project successful? Because for us, it's really brilliant example of what people can do together.
15 years back, when I first came to the central Bosnian town of Visoko to visit the local museum, I noticed this very peculiar shape of the hill, four sides, triangular faces, corners. I took a compass, it showed me perfect orientation. I knew it was an artificial structure. First year, 2005, I got permission as the physical person, as the individual, to start preliminary research. I wrote the book, I announced discovery of the Bosnian pyramids, and I received 12,500 emails of support from all over the world. Somehow, this project has resonated with so many people around the world. I realized it was not a one-man project. So I tried to talk to the establishment, university, departments of archaeology, museums. They had no interest in researching with me. So I established non-profit, non-government foundation. It was the first case in Southern Europe, foundation for the archaeological research. And we started with the archaeological digging. A lot of volunteers came first year. We got excellent results. And we realized archaeology is not enough to explain the pyramids. So we had many other classical sciences like Egyptology, archaeology, geology, paleontology, biology, pedology, and so on. But that was not enough. Then we got involved, high tech, like geothermal, satellite analysis, geophysical analysis, georadar analysis, and still that was not enough. So we got experts in energy phenomena, physicists, electrical engineers, sound engineers, telecommunication engineers. We realized pyramids are energy machines, and this energy affects our spirituality, affects our energy field, affects our mind. It affects the physical processes. We are getting now to healing aspects. So archaeology, science, energy, spirituality, healing. Since the cultural establishment was against me from the very beginning, even though some politicians came to the site, they gave support, they issued permissions to dig, but because of the pressure from the archaeologists, geologists, and mainstream scientists, they were not giving us the money, promotion, organization. So we had to be creative. I have opened the project to the volunteers from all over the world. In the last 10 years only, we have had more than 3,550 volunteers from 63 countries and 6 continents. It's been the largest archaeological project ever. Usually archaeology is one archaeologist, 10-15 diggers, 15 days, 30 days. In our case, hundreds of volunteers from 8 to 84 years, dozens of experts from different fields, a lot of independent researchers, our employees, and then tens of thousands of visitors, and we have beautiful interaction. You go to places with the mainstream archaeological digs, Egypt, Peru, Mexico, you try to talk to archaeologists, you cannot find him, they are always separated. You try to talk to diggers, we cannot tell anything, secrets, confidential. Nothing like that in Bosnia. This is the most open archaeological projects. No secrets. A beautiful interaction. So because of that, people have been coming, and people who are students and housewives and children, but also archaeologists and geologists, forensic experts, dentists, people from different fields, they come. They become part of discovery. They discover concrete blocks on the Bosnian Pyramid of the Sun, terraces on the Moon Pyramid, new prehistorical tunnels. They discover artifacts, organic materials. They are part of a discovery. And even though they pay for their trip, they pay for accommodation, they work for free, but they realize there is a higher purpose there. And they come back next year, and next year, and next year. Every time in our shifts we have 30 or 50 or 60 volunteers from at least 15 countries. They got those beautiful, strong relationships and friendships. We got, just this year, with everything being closed because of COVID, we have a couple who got married. She's from France, he's from Spain, they got married, she's pregnant. So the baby will be really the pyramid baby. And that's not the first case. We got many cases. And then people come, they are open, they talk about anything. In their communities, when they try to talk to some stuff like, whatever, spirituality, extraterrestrials, people deem them to be weird. In our case, they talk about anything and nobody is judging. We had the lady from Australia. She has Ph.D. in forensic sciences, working for the internal services for the police over there in Melbourne. And the first thing we do, when people got the first day is, they introduce themselves. So this girl said, well, I'm coming from France, from Lyon, and I heard about this project. I want to see what's going on. And the guy is from Germany, another one from UK, another one from Spain, another one from Bulgaria. And she said, well, I'm from Australia, I do this and that. And the guy said, okay, I'm from Pleiades, and I came here because I feel this is the right project. Now this girl from Australia, she heard, well, she's from Australia. She doesn't know what's going on in Europe with all these small countries. So she thought Pleiades, probably some small Greek islands, but Pleiades are, of course, the star system. The guy wanted to say, I'm a cosmic being, I do not belong only to this planet. But so these are the type of stories. So people got like, wow, what's going on here? But then with the time, they become so relaxed and all. They don't need to share their views in a sense, okay, I'm going to accept it. But, they talk, they communicate, they love such an open atmosphere.
Wow, that sounds really fantastic. And it sounds to me that you are essentially establishing new paradigm or concept of archaeological studies, and that essentially this is kind of like whole idea that it is something important for our civilizations and all these people being united together in all these big purposes, and that leads to the great success. So that's really fantastic.
And that's another reason why mainstream does not like me. We have a National Museum here in Bosnia, in Sarajevo. In the last 30, 40 years, you never heard that they discovered anything. But they said, we need 5 or 10 millions, for our salaries, or our facade needs to be repaired, our roof is leaking. Hey guys, tell me about the discoveries. What did you discover? And then we showed up with all these discoveries, and people coming from all over the world, and media interest, and being, people being open and happy and with the smiles. They don't like us because we are showing them how the archaeology should look like, how the science should look like. Knowledge belongs to everyone.
That's a great point. And, I really feel that we are so alike, because in the Allatra movement, we are volunteering, and all we are doing out of own will and time. And I think it is really amazing how much good people can do together. And it is so insightful interview. And, possibly you would be interested that we would talk more about the creative society and about your views, because you're expressing such a brilliant example. And if you find more time to think after our kaleidoscope effects, that would be fantastic. Dr. Osmanagich, I know that Jason got one more question for you. And Jason, please.
It's actually interesting because I can see you speak from the heart. So a lot of times you answer our questions before we ask them. Do you have any advice you could give to young archaeologists or aspiring independent researchers who meet that academic wall that you discussed, that we're all unfortunately quite familiar with? Is there anything you would like to say to those people that might watch this, who want to share the same view as you, but they meet that wall, as I've said?
It's not only the archaeology. The advice is really the same for all other sciences and all other areas of intellectual work. They can be pharmacists, they can be, musicians. Whenever you come with the new ideas, especially if you are younger, and then you try to find your place in the corporate world, in the media world, in the culture, in the science, in the music, in the sport, anywhere. Usually the people who are there, they want to keep the status quo. And in most cases, they discourage those people with the new ideas, young people or people young in their hearts. My advice is very simple. Follow your dreams. Sometimes you have to be smart. For example, if you are to obtain a scientific degree, master's degree or Ph.D. degrees. You just be smart, get it, but then express yourself loudly. Because sometimes those degrees will give you the power. And people sometimes listen just because somebody has a degree. But people should be following their dreams. Otherwise, they will be unhappy. They can be maybe happy with the salary and the standard of living. But if you are unhappy within yourself, then you will feel that you are doing something wrong to yourself and you are missing on major points in your life. Now, that road is not an easy one, but we better live with the dignity and we are happy with what we do, even though many obstacles in front of us, then we just go with the flow.
Wow, Dr. Osmanagich, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Such sincere answers and really a broad range of questions you answered today. We are really, really grateful on behalf of all the community who's watching us and will be watching. And we are so glad also that you agreed to participate in Kaleidoscope Effects. This means a lot to us. We would like to thank you. Thank you for your time, for your knowledge, for sharing from your heart all your experiences and wisdom. And on this, thank you, everyone. Thanks for watching us. Please leave your comments. Ask your questions. We can relay them to Dr. Osmanagich later on. And until next time, be well.
Thanks a lot.
Pyramids. Why are they found not only all over the Earth, but also on other planets? This topic keeps raising curiosity amongst researchers and scientists from all over the world. Global Pyramid Complex. A dormant mechanism awaiting for those who will activate it. What is its purpose? Mount Kailash, the unconquered peak of Tibet, or the great legacy of architects of the distant past. Why are all the pyramids of Earth oriented to Kailash? Sacred geometry of the pyramid. The ancients knew that the human energy structure has a pyramidal shape, but why did we forget about it? Pyramid of the 21st century. Studying the unique capabilities of a person in practice. Star map on Earth. What did people of knowledge encrypt for future generations in the arrangement of pyramid complexes? Cyclical nature of climatic catastrophes, 12,000 years. What is the role of the pyramid complex in the times of global cataclysms? And what is the responsibility of each person for the future of our civilization? We invite experts and scientists from various fields and all interested people to participate in a joint search for answers to these and other questions. It's time to return the truth to people.